Here's the difference between people who look rich on Instagram and people who quietly retire in their 40s. You see it every time you open your phone. Your college friend just bought his dream car. Another is clinking champagne glasses on a rooftop in Miami. Someone else just posted a house tour with a kitchen nicer than any hotel you've ever stayed in. The comments are full of, "So proud of you," "Living the dream," and "This is goals." And then there's you. You're working hard, you're paying your bills, you're saving what you can, but watching everyone else upgrade their life, you start to wonder, what am I doing wrong? Why does it feel like I'm stuck while everyone else is getting ahead? Don't skip this video if you feel broke while everyone on Instagram looks rich, because here's what almost nobody tells you. Most of those people aren't actually getting ahead, they're just getting louder. Behind the luxury car is a 7-year loan. Behind the trip to Europe is a credit card with a 24% interest rate. Behind the renovations is a home equity line that quietly eats into their future. Credit card balances in the US are at record highs. Many people are paying interest rates over 23% on stuff they don't even remember buying. The vacations, the cars, the treat-yourself moments you see online are often financed by future anxiety. Want to quietly build real wealth while everyone else just looks rich? Subscribe and stay for the next moves Jake uses, because there's another group of people you almost never notice. They drive normal cars, they live in regular neighborhoods, they wear clothes that don't scream brand names, they don't post every time they buy something. If you sat next to them at a coffee shop, you'd have no idea they could probably buy the whole building in cash. These people have something most of the flexers don't: actual financial security. This is the world of stealth wealth, the art of getting rich without needing anyone's approval. The discipline of letting your money work for you quietly while everyone else is busy putting on a show. Jake lives in that world now, but he didn't start there. He remembers scrolling through social media after a long day at work, seeing people he knew flying first class, buying new cars, and moving into bigger homes. He was doing everything right on paper, saving some, investing a little, working hard. Yet somehow, everybody else looked like they were winning faster. It took him years to realize most of them weren't winning. They were just prioritizing appearance over stability. So Jake decided to do something different. He stopped asking, "How do I look successful?" and started asking, "How do I quietly become free?" That shift led him to the 9 stealth wealth moves that changed everything. The first move: live at 70% of your income. No matter what you earn, your income is not your lifestyle. It's your opportunity. Most people treat every raise, every bonus, every promotion as permission to spend more. New job, new car, bonus, fancy vacation, tax refund, shopping spree. It feels normal, but every time your spending rises with your income, you're locking yourself into the same financial treadmill, just running faster. Jake picked a rule: live on about 70% of what you make. Treat the other 30% as untouchable. That 30% is what buys back your time, your options, and your peace. If you earn $80,000 a year and commit to living on $56,000, you've got $24,000 left. If you invest that $24,000 every year at an average return of 8%, in 20 years it becomes roughly $1.1 million. The person who uses every raise to upgrade their lifestyle never gets close to that. Most Americans couldn't cover a $1,000 emergency in cash. The ones who consistently save 20 to 30% of their income, they're effectively shock-proof. They can lose a job, move to a new state, start a business, or take a sabbatical without their whole life collapsing. Every month you wait is another month your money doesn't compound. Subscribe now so the next time you see this topic, you've already started. The second move: hide your raises from yourself. Lifestyle inflation is incredibly sneaky. It hides inside little phrases like, "It's just this once," and "I've worked hard, I deserve it." A slightly nicer car, a slightly better apartment, a few more deliveries each week. None of it feels dramatic, but together it quietly erases your future wealth. Jake made a rule for himself: any time his income went up, his spending stayed the same. The entire raise was redirected before he ever saw it. Got a $5,000 raise? His payroll settings changed so that extra $5,000 per year flowed straight into his investment accounts. His checking account didn't feel richer, his life didn't visually change, but his net worth did. A $5,000 annual raise invested every year at 8% for 25 years becomes around $395,000. Most people trade that for marginal upgrades. They stop appreciating after a few months. If you act like the raise never happened, nobody around you will expect you to live differently. You don't signal new money. You just quietly build it. The third move, save aggressively in invisible containers. Stealth wealth loves systems that don't show off. 401ks, IRAs, HSAs, and long-term brokerage accounts. These are invisible containers that grow your money out of sight. In 2026, workers in the US can contribute up to $24,500 to a 401k, with even higher limits if you're older. IRAs let you add thousands more. HSAs, if you qualify, give you one of the most powerful tax advantages out there. Money goes in tax-deductible, grows tax-free, and can be spent tax-free on qualified medical expenses. Nobody claps when you max out your 401k. Nobody comments goals when you increase your IRA contribution, but a 30-year-old investing $1,000 a month and earning 7% annually can have almost $1.2 million by age 60. Start 10 years later and you'll have less than half of that. The wealthy understand this. Boring, tax-advantaged accounts are where the real magic happens. They're not sexy, but they're effective. They let your money quietly compound for decades. Thousands of people are already shifting from looking rich to actually being rich. Join them by subscribing and turning on notifications. The fourth move, build boring, invisible businesses. Some of the wealthiest people Jake knows never show up on magazine covers or viral posts. They own car washes, vending machine routes, small logistics operations, self-storage units, cleaning companies, dental practices, and local service businesses. Nothing flashy, no founder lifestyle, no hustle content, just steady cash flow. Reports on self-made millionaires consistently show this pattern. A huge percentage of them own small, unglamorous businesses, not tech unicorns, not wildly speculative startups, just things people need every day. Jake runs a couple of quiet businesses himself. One handles digital marketing for boring local clients. The other rents portable storage units. No one asks him for startup advice. Nobody writes think pieces about what he's building. That's fine. The deposits still hit his account every month. Everyone wants a brand. Jake wants freedom. The fifth move, eliminate status signals. Status signals are wealth leaks disguised as style. The luxury logos, the prestige car badge, the limited edition sneakers, the designer belt, these things do more than cost money. They change how everyone treats you. Social psychology research shows that when people think you have money, they unconsciously adjust their expectations. You become the friend who can afford to pick up the tab, the relative who should be fine helping out, the coworker who doesn't really need that reimbursement. Jake learned this when he briefly upgraded to a luxury SUV. Within months, people joked that he was rich now. Colleagues started assuming he'd be okay covering certain expenses. Family members began floating business ideas that needed just a little seed money. The car wasn't just a car, it was a signal, and that signal came with a bill far beyond the monthly payment. He sold it, went back to a normal car, the comments stopped, the pressure faded, his bank account thanked him. Believe it or not, you can look average on the outside and still be sitting on a seven-figure portfolio no one knows about. The sixth move, keep your finances private. In a world where people share their salary, savings, and investment screenshots for likes, choosing privacy is a power move. When people know your numbers, they can't help but react. If they think you make less than them, some will quietly look down on you. If they think you make more, some will quietly expect things from you. Either way, your relationships get distorted by money. Jake decided his financial life was on a need-to-know basis. Almost.
Nobody needs to know.
When someone asks what he earns, he smiles and says, "Enough to do what I love, not enough to quit working." That's the truth. It's also the end of the conversation. He doesn't brag about investments. He doesn't drop numbers into casual talk. He doesn't announce how much he saved last year. Financial privacy allows him to live a normal-looking life with an abnormal level of security. People see him as a peer, not a walking wallet. If you want real numbers, real strategies, and zero clickbait, weekly breakdowns, portfolio ideas, and stealth wealth tactics, all you have to do is hit subscribe. The seventh move, automate everything before you see it. Willpower is unreliable. Systems are not. Most people get paid, see the full amount in their checking account, and then try to decide how much to save. By the time the bills, the outings, the little impulse purchases hit, there's not much left. Jake flipped that order around. He set up automatic transfers so that the moment his paycheck arrived, it split itself. A large chunk went straight into investments, index funds, ETFs, retirement accounts. Another portion went into an emergency fund, a smaller slice into a guilt-free spending account. Only what remained flowed into his main spending account. No manual decisions, no "I'll do it later." No staring at the number and convincing himself that this month he'll be disciplined. Behavioral economists call this a commitment device. You make one decision that keeps enforcing itself. Over time, something interesting happened. Jake stopped feeling like he was saving. He just lived on what was left. The saving part happened automatically in the background. The eighth move, invest in the unglamorous things. Everyone wants the next big thing, the next hot stock, the next crypto rocket, the next viral investment opportunity. Stealth wealth doesn't care about excitement. It cares about reliability. Low-cost index funds, broad market ETFs, government bonds, solid real estate in stable areas, dividend-paying companies with long histories. These aren't going to give you wild stories to tell at parties. They won't make you look like a genius trader, but they will quietly do the job. If you invest $1,000 a month into a broad index fund that averages 9% annually, in 25 years, you're looking at around $750,000. Keep going another decade, and you're in multi-millionaire territory. Meanwhile, most people are trying to time the market, chase hype, and beat professionals who do this for a living, and losing. The people who win are not the loudest. They're the ones who pick a boring strategy, automate it, and refuse to flinch. The ninth move, protect your mental space from comparison traps. Your brain can sabotage your bank account. There's a term now, money dysmorphia. It describes people who are actually doing okay financially, but feel broke because they constantly compare themselves to curated lifestyles online. 44,444. You see someone your age with a nicer car, bigger house, or fancier trips, and suddenly your own progress feels small, even if you're saving, investing, and staying out of debt. Jake noticed this happening to him. He'd check his accounts and feel good, then scroll through social media and feel behind. So he made a radical choice. He curated his feed like he curated his portfolio. He unfollowed accounts that triggered envy and financial insecurity. He muted people who only posted highlight reels of consumption. He stopped watching "What I Spend in a Day" videos that were clearly detached from reality. Slowly, that background pressure started to fade. His spending dropped, not because he forced it, but because he stopped feeding the part of his brain that felt like it had to keep up. Tired of feeling behind while everyone else flexes online? Save this video and subscribe so you can actually fix your money, not just watch other people spend theirs. That's the mental side of stealth wealth. You can't build quietly if your mind is loud with comparison. So what does all of this add up to? Stealth wealth isn't about being cheap. It's about being free. It's the freedom to drive an older car, not because you're broke, but because you'd rather have an extra $300,000 invested over the next decade. It's the freedom to say no to an expensive trip without feeling embarrassed, because your self-worth doesn't depend on what anyone sees. It's the freedom to lose a job and not panic, because your emergency fund buys you time. The freedom to take a risk on a new career or a small business, because your finances won't implode if it doesn't work right away. After years of watching people go broke trying to look successful, Jake built a system to quietly get rich instead. If you want that system broken down, subscribe and stay tuned. On the surface, Jake's life looks normal. He lives in a comfortable but ordinary home. He drives a car nobody stares at. His clothes don't come with recognizable logos. He doesn't have the obvious markers that scream wealthy. But behind that, something very different is happening. Money is flowing into invisible containers that grow every month. Boring assets are compounding. Small, unglamorous businesses are throwing off cash. His health is strong enough to work if he wants to, but his finances are strong enough that he doesn't have to. He doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. That's the part most people miss. The goal is not to look like you made it. The goal is to reach a point where your choices are no longer controlled by fear, debt, or other people's expectations. If you want less debt, more options, and zero pressure to perform your lifestyle for strangers, subscribe now and let Jake show you how to do it step by step. 10 years from now, the people who spent everything to look successful will still be chasing the next upgrade, the next big purchase that makes them feel worthy for a few days. You'll be somewhere quieter, maybe in the same neighborhood, maybe in the same car, maybe in the same clothes, but you'll have something they don't. You'll have the calm that comes from knowing you're actually, truly, undeniably free. Not rich for the camera, rich in real life, rich in disguise,